Frank Fritz, the former co-star of American Pickers, has endured serious hardships since his 2020 departure from the show. Once a familiar face on televisions across the country, known for his sharp eye and quick wit, Frank's life took a sharp turn away from the spotlight and into a whirlwind of personal challenges that would test even the strongest individual. His fans, who once eagerly awaited each new episode of the History Channel hit, were stunned to learn of the struggles he faced behind the scenes. Not only has he battled ongoing health issues, but he has done so largely out of the public eye, retreating from fame as he contended with circumstances that few could have foreseen. One of the most devastating blows came in the form of a debilitating stroke in 2022. This medical emergency not only threatened his life, but also left him with a long and grueling recovery journey. Strokes can have a variety of impacts on mobility, speech, memory, and independence, and for Frank Fritz, the road back to anything resembling normalcy was steep and uncertain. For a man whose livelihood was once spent traveling the country, picking through barns, garages, and forgotten attics in search of rare artifacts, being physically limited added a cruel twist to his already painful departure from the show. Fans were left to wonder just how much of Frank's spark had survived the ordeal, and the lack of concrete updates only deepened the mystery. Adding further complexity to his story was his relationship with longtime co-host Mike Wolfe. Once considered a dynamic duo, the chemistry between Frank and Mike had defined American Pickers for over a decade. Together, they had unearthed treasures and shared countless laughs, becoming a cornerstone of the show's appeal. But as time went on and Frank's health declined, cracks began to appear in their once solid friendship. Despite Wolfe publicly expressing concern and support during Fritz's recovery, issuing statements that conveyed hope, solidarity, and warm wishes, the true state of their friendship has remained a mystery. Public relations words are one thing. The private dynamics between two men who once called each other brothers are quite another. This ambiguity has fueled endless speculation among fans and media outlets alike. Was Mike's public support genuine, or was it crafted for optics? Did Frank feel abandoned in his time of need, or had circumstances simply driven a wedge between them that neither had the energy or desire to bridge? These are questions without clear answers, but they continue to circulate, feeding rumors and chat room debates. For many, it's the silence between updates, the emotional distance between press releases that speaks louder than any official statement. The world may never know the full truth behind their fractured bond, but what remains undeniable is that their friendship, once a fixture of reality TV camaraderie, now stands as a symbol of what was lost. Meanwhile, in an entirely different corner of the reality TV universe, Rick Harrison, the charismatic frontman of Pawn Stars, has found himself entangled in controversy and legal turmoil that has shocked both fans and the entertainment industry. Known for his savvy business acumen and encyclopedic knowledge of history, Rick had long enjoyed a reputation as the grounded and reliable face of the gold and silver pawn shop in Las Vegas. His no-nonsense attitude and occasional fatherly wisdom made him a fan favorite, and for years he appeared to run his business with integrity and confidence. But behind the scenes, troubling developments were unfolding, developments that would soon spill into the public eye with stunning consequences. In 2022, Harrison was charged with attempted battery following an altercation at his Las Vegas pawn shop. For a man who had cultivated a relatively clean public image, the news came as a shock. The details of the incident were murky, but they painted a troubling picture of escalating tempers and poor judgment. Ultimately, Rick pleaded guilty, receiving probation and a sentence of community service. While this may have seemed like the end of the matter, it was, in fact, only the beginning of a much larger and more alarming saga. The incident at the pawn shop served as a warning shot, an indication that Harrison's world was beginning to unravel. By 2025, Rick Harrison's legal troubles had deepened significantly. That year, he pleaded guilty to a felony count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud, a charge that shook his fan base to its core. The crime was part of a broader scheme involving counterfeit sports memorabilia, an operation that defrauded collectors out of millions of dollars. The idea that the same man who once proudly authenticated rare Civil War swords and Beatles vinyl records could be involved in such a deception was almost too much to process. Yet the legal documentation spoke for itself. If convicted fully, Rick could face up to 5 years in prison and a hefty $250,000 fine. These weren't the fictional stakes of a reality TV episode. They were real-world consequences with real-world victims. As if his legal troubles weren't enough, Harrison's personal life was also in shambles. His own mother, Joanne Harrison, filed a bombshell lawsuit against him in 2022. In her filing, she alleged that Rick manipulated her into signing over a majority stake in the pawnshop business while she was hospitalized and in a coma. The accusation was shocking on its face, a son exploiting his ailing mother for control of the family business. But the lawsuit didn't stop there. Joanne also claimed that Rick stopped providing her with promised financial support and withheld key financial documents, effectively cutting her out of the enterprise that she had helped support and sustain. The legal documents described a pattern of coercion and betrayal that left many fans questioning just how much they truly knew about the man behind the camera. To make matters worse, in January 2024, Rick faced unimaginable heartbreak when his son, Adam Harrison, died from a fentanyl overdose. The loss of a child is one of the most painful experiences a person can endure, and for Rick, the tragedy was both deeply personal and tragically public. In the aftermath, he became an outspoken critic of the government's response to the opioid epidemic. Speaking with uncharacteristic emotion and urgency, Rick called for stricter laws and real action to curb drug distribution, joining a chorus of grieving families demanding accountability. His pain was palpable, his anger raw. No longer just a TV personality, he became a grieving father, channeling his heartbreak into advocacy. While some reports have pushed sensational conspiracy theories involving Rick and even suggested links to darker crimes, no official evidence has surfaced to support those claims. Yet in the modern media landscape, the absence of evidence doesn't always stop speculation. Online forums, social media accounts, and fringe news sites have all spun narratives that blur the line between reality and fiction, adding layers of intrigue to an already complicated story. Despite this noise, the core facts remain chilling. Rick Harrison is embroiled in real legal cases, coping with real family tragedies and facing a future that looks dramatically different from the past he once enjoyed. Still, the mix of verified, legal cases and tragic family events paint a stark picture of the real-life struggles behind the cameras. These aren't scripted storylines or dramatic arcs concocted in an editing room. These are the raw, painful truths that remind us that fame offers no immunity from suffering. From Frank Fritz's stroke and estranged friendships to Rick Harrison's legal woes and personal losses, the toll of reality television fame is laid bare. These unfolding dramas serve as a powerful reminder that even reality TV stars are not immune to the complexities of real life. Whether it's fractured friendships, family betrayals, or personal loss, the lives of Frank Fritz, Mike Wolfe, and Rick Harrison highlight the importance of compassion, accountability, and seeking the truth behind the tabloid headlines. The public often forgets that behind the polished appearances and carefully edited episodes are human beings, flawed, struggling, and sometimes broken, trying to navigate a world that is far more brutal than anything seen on screen. As the legal proceedings continue and the emotional wounds remain raw, we must ask ourselves what it truly means to know someone through a television screen. So stay tuned, because as the courtroom battles continue and more facts come to light, this story is far from over. In fact, it may just be entering its most dramatic chapter yet. For fans, critics, and curious onlookers alike, the lives of these reality TV veterans offer more than entertainment. They offer a sobering glimpse into the cost of fame, the fragility of relationships, and the resilience required to survive. When the cameras stop rolling, the unfolding events surrounding Frank Fritz, Mike Wolfe, and Rick Harrison have not only captivated viewers, but ignited deeper conversations about the price of fame, the pitfalls of public life, and the fragile reality that lies behind even the most successful television careers. For years, these men were more than just TV personalities. They were icons, woven into the fabric of American pop culture through their work on American Pickers and Pawn Stars. Their faces became familiar to millions. Their voices were as common in households as any fictional character. Yet now, in the harsh light of real-world consequences, they face a reckoning not even the best producers could have scripted. Frank Fritz's journey in particular represents a profound case study in how quickly fortune can turn. From the bustling days of scouring back roads for rusty gems to struggling with basic mobility after a stroke, Frank's transformation has been both heartbreaking and humbling. The stroke he suffered in 2022 wasn't just a medical emergency. It was a brutal marker of time, one that separated his past life from the uncertain present. Rehabilitation after such a trauma is a slow, often lonely process involving countless hours of physical therapy, speech exercises, and mental health challenges. For a man whose identity was so closely tied to his independence and his ability to work, the loss of those faculties struck at his very core. Support from fans poured in, but what he needed most was support from the people closest to him. And that's where the questions began. Mike Wolfe's public expressions of concern were widely circulated, heartfelt words shared on social media, well-crafted statements in interviews, but nothing tangible that fans could point to as evidence of true reconciliation. This fueled narratives that Mike and Frank's time of greatest need remained conspicuously absent. And while no one knows the intimate truth of their relationship, the absence of any recent photos, appearances, or collaborations speaks volumes to those who once believed in their brotherhood. Behind the cameras, there had always been tension, creative disagreements, disputes about direction, and personal differences that occasionally surfaced even while filming. But many had assumed those squabbles were just part of working in close quarters. Now, re-examining past interviews and footage, some fans claim to see the early signs of a rift that may have been quietly building for years. Was Mike already moving on? Had Frank's struggles been more extensive than anyone realized? These questions remain unanswered, hovering like ghosts over their shared legacy. Meanwhile, Rick Harrison's troubles have continued to evolve into a near-operatic saga of betrayal, grief, and moral ambiguity. His guilty plea in the wire fraud case shocked even those who had long grown skeptical of reality TV ethics. Sports memorabilia is a lucrative market, with rare items sometimes fetching 6 or even 7 figures, but it's also a minefield for fraud, with counterfeit items often indistinguishable from the real thing without extensive verification. For Rick to be involved in such a scheme suggested not just desperation, but a calculated decision to exploit trust for financial gain. What drove him down this path? Was it greed? Was it financial pressure? Or was it something more personal, an attempt to maintain the illusion of success, even as the world around him began to collapse? Some insiders have speculated that Rick's financial situation was more precarious than anyone knew. The rising costs of legal battles, the potential payout from his mother's lawsuit, and the declining ratings of Pawn Stars may have all conspired to push him toward riskier ventures. Whatever the truth, The consequences have been severe, both legally and reputationally. His mother's lawsuit, too, remains one of the most devastating chapters in his ongoing saga. The image of a mother accusing her son of manipulation while lying helpless in a hospital bed shocked viewers who had once admired Rick's apparent loyalty to family. The lawsuit paints a picture of cold opportunism, of legal documents thrust under the nose of a sedated parent, of broken promises and withheld finances. While Rick has denied wrongdoing, the court documents and public statements from Joanne Harrison suggest a deep and painful rift within the Harrison family, one that may never fully heal. And then there is Adam. The death of Rick's son from a fentanyl overdose opened an entirely different wound, one that no lawsuit or courtroom can address. Fentanyl, a powerful synthetic opioid, has claimed countless lives across the U.S., and Adam's passing is a tragic reminder of how indiscriminate this epidemic truly is.